Oh, I see why the light's not on. It came apart.
Oh, perfect.
But that's fine.
All right, so we are live. Everything. Come on. All right, and now. Oh, interesting. Instagram made us go side by side. Why? Give me 1 second.
Oh, okay. We're both in pink.
We are, yeah. All right. Let me check.
Oh, that just cascaded down. Oh, I hear yours.
Yep. He's going to have to get. Okay. We're side by side. Good. We're good. Okay, cool. Justin, how's it look on Instagram? Is it working on Instagram? That's so weird. So Instagram is showing like a side by side. That's really weird. Anyways.
On my computer, it's side by side.
Yeah, on so all right, so folks on Instagram, if you are watching this from Instagram, click the link because then it will open up into the video where you actually see us side by side. So that will actually help. So if you're on Instagram, definitely hop over there. The chat, perfect. So let me, if you are on Instagram, oh, you can hear my clicking.
Okay, I'm hearing feedback.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, so I'm super excited to be talking about breastfeeding and managing your supply, answering questions.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know we've got a few folks that are going to be on here. We actually have some first-time moms that said they were going to be here, and we also have some first-time dads as well that I obviously know are going to have questions and trying to figure out how to support their partner and all of those things. So yeah, I'm excited. So when we're talking about supply, oops, is that feeding back? Come on. So when we're talking about supply, one of the biggest things that I was totally wrong about was the whole like lactation cookies and drinking your, what was it? Was it Body Armor?
Body Armor.
Yeah, it was Body Armor. Everyone had me drinking and like thinking
coconut
like
water.
I eat this magical thing. It's actually going to help my supply. And like that's now that I'm a CBC, learning the fact that that is actually not the case is what I found to be super interesting and really bizarre, because all I was seeing in like Facebook groups was like, eat this, take this, and that'll be magical. And I didn't realize how much work breastfeeding actually was and that it's a natural thing, but there's actually a learning curve to it. I just thought the whole thing was like so fascinating and all that there actually is to it. So if you are watching, you can definitely hop into the chat and ask any questions you might have. I know we're going to have folks that are pregnant. We're going to have folks that already are breastfeeding. If you're actually looking to stop breastfeeding, there's a lot of great questions around that. Even if you're somebody that had no interest in breastfeeding for whatever reason, and you want to talk about drawing up supply, anything like that, like our questions are open to anything people might have.
Well, while we wait on questions, Lindsay, the story behind lactation cookies, there are some substances that are thought to increase prolactin, which is the hormone that makes milk, but it does it very indirectly. And prolactin isn't released unless milk is removed from the breast. So you can't just eat something or drink something and make milk. It requires that the milk is frequently removed from the breast.
something you and I had talked about, can you move that cat? Sorry, I have him meowing outside the door.
Oh, it might be mine.
No, that's mine. Something that I think was really interesting about all of that was that when you and I were talking about supply and boosting supply, was the fact that it's frequent milk removal, not time length of milk removal. Because everyone thinks, okay, I've got to pump for 30 minutes, or after an hour, I only got X amount. And it's more about the frequency of it. And that because they're milk glands, you're not actually going to empty yourself out.
Correct. So milk is made on demand like our tears. And you can't run out of tears unless you're super, super, super dehydrated. You keep crying as much as you feel sad and wanting to cry. So our breasts keep making. Now, flow from a pump will stop because pump isn't a baby. But babies, have a finite capacity on their stomach. So they are going to stop. And the really long times that moms try to pump make the breast very lazy. It says, well, I just need to dribble it, instead of building a supply and releasing it to the baby.
That's it. It's so interesting. Like there's just a lot of like misconceptions around it. Something else I really think is important is the topic of nipple shields. So I am seeing a lot of people putting nipple shields on their registry. Go ahead, educate us, will you?
Well, nipple shields decrease the stimulation to the breast. And when people are just buying them and don't have the help of a lactation consultant, I know that's the troublemaker right now.
A little cutie patootie.
Go that way. Or just right there. Just right there. Lie down. They're not putting them on correctly. So the baby is out here on the nipple, still causing pain, because I think a lot of moms put it on there thinking, or they've been told, or they heard that you cannot have nipple pain by using this nipple shield. Well, if baby's latched on incorrectly, baby's latched on incorrectly, and that's what causes the nipple pain. So I've seen nipples get creased through the shield from an incorrect application of the shield. And the second thing that happens with that is the baby cannot get the milk. If they're not up on the breast. And that, I got a big issue with that, the newer Haka shield. It's like putting a nipple on the end of your nipple.
It's like, if this is your breast, it was like way the heck out here.
It is super far away, and that's just going to tank your milk supply, and baby's going to get frustrated, and baby's not going to want to nurse at the breast at all as a result. So they don't stop all nipple soreness. Nipple soreness has a reason. It shouldn't be sore if the baby's latched on correctly. There are a few cases where we do need to use them, but few and temporary. And we need to watch milk supply with that, because chances are it's going to tank.
So yeah, one of the interesting things, like, so, when I'm talking to, new parents and parents to be, is like, especially with the whole like nipple shield thing, is I'm not a fan of it unless you're working with a lactation consultant.
Correct.
Like that is a huge aspect of it. Anybody that has questions, drop them in the chat. Let us know what your questions are. So whether you are pregnant, breastfeeding, in the midst of breastfeeding, a partner, feel free to drop any questions that you might have. So the whole thing is it's so fascinating to me, because like in my head, I was like, okay, that will help protect my nipples, but you actually end up with baby chomping down, and now your nipples getting crushed in the shield. I was talking to a mom yesterday, So this woman is the sweetest thing ever. She's now a lactation consultant and now like a postpartum like nutrition expert and all of that. Has 11 children that she has breastfed. I know. I'm like, go mama. Like, whew. Her first baby, she breastfed for 8 months, totally cracked bleeding nipples the entire time. And get this, she was attending La Leche League meetings weekly, and nobody was saying, hey, your child has an oral tie. So when we're talking about painful nipples, painful latches, it's going to be a little weird and uncomfy at first, but pumping and latching shouldn't actually be painful. It shouldn't.
Correct.
And that's where we want to explore the possibility of what's going on with the latch and trying to figure that. Hey, Chris, welcome. So he's watching with his better half because he's also a fabulous dad to be. We love him. He's great. Yeah, so it's just one of those like interesting things of like if pumping or latching hurts, we need to figure something out. Go to a lactation consultant. Now, here's the interesting thing a lot of folks don't know. So as far as the lactation consultants in the hospital, they are super busy. What I wish I had done was find a lactation consultant before giving birth and develop a relationship. Like had I met you before I went to the hospital and gotten the pleasantries out of the way, that way it's my first day home with the baby. I'm sitting here sobbing because I can't get my child to latch. It's not like a weird conversation of me trying to like vet out different lactation consultants. It's like, all right, I already found somebody I can call and ask, and here I am sobbing and it's okay, and just help me. So the interesting thing between a breastfeeding counselor, which is what I am, and you, an IBCLC, a lactation consultant, international board, right? International
Board certified lactation consultant.
Yes. You guys are actually able to do hands-on, looking in the baby's mouth, touching the breast, things like that, versus a breastfeeding counselor. I can support you into almost like a doula versus like a midwife, right? I can support you and talk to you through it and give you techniques and things to try. However, when it comes to actually looking inside of baby's mouth, doing any physical exam, that's where you truly want a lactation consultant. And I give you guys all the absolute credit in the world. So when you have a baby, you're suspecting oral tie, where do you recommend parents go first? Because I have found the pediatrician, the pediatrician's regulations and recommendations totally just changed in the last 6 weeks on oral ties. They're very pro formula, which is fine and absolutely has its place. And people make their personal choices and have different reasons in different there are a plethora of reasons. However, if something as simple as snipping an oral tie can mean you can have successful breastfeeding and a mom not sobbing in pain, feeling like a failure, I don't know why they're stepping away saying oral ties are overcorrected. Whereas they're just happy babies getting fed. They don't care if it's coming from the breast or the bottle.
If they figure if a baby can bottle feed without problem, then there really is no problem. But a mom with persistent pain, the baby's not going to be taking the milk they need. Mom's going to give up because we've seen the America's Funniest Home Videos where when guys put crawdads on their nipples. Yeah, and they scream. So we wouldn't want to continue that kind of discomfort, and it's not helpful to the baby either. And it affects, her relationship with the baby as well. I mean, if you are not liking that little person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it not only because I've had parents where I've recommended, I don't want to do that. Well, they numb it first. They use numbing cream on it, and it affects speech and swallowing solids. If they're not able to move that bolus back with that tongue like they should, and then if what's a few minutes of pain on a newborn versus being teased because you can't speak correctly.
Mm-hmm. So if you see a baby that you're saying, you know what, we have an issue, I've gone through because it could be something as simple as positioning. It can affect the latch. belly or finding latch position that works for mom and baby.
Right.
If you really suspect and you look and you're like, you know what, that looks like an oral tie to me, go to a pediatric.
They can go to pediatric dentist, or they can go to a pediatric ENT, ear, nose, and throat.
That's a great one, pediatric ENT. So our friend Jen watching is asking, how common are oral ties?
More common than you think. Well, I'll go with the mid answer there. More common than you think, and not as common as portrayed. How's that?
Fair. So I didn't realize my daughter Isla ended up having a tie. So there are some red flags that parents can watch out for. Sorry if can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it just says the beginning is on your camera.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It says my internet is weak. Self-view here.
But you're coming across. I mean, you've had a little bit of breakup, but I can hear you still.
Why? Why? I don't want to hide my
Well,
view.
while you figure out your tech, what I'm going to look for to suggest an oral tie, and as an IBCLC, I can I don't know if diagnose is the word, but that's within my scope of practice. And lip ties don't cause as many problems, but a baby that has a lip tie often also has a tongue tie. So what I'm looking for first, if the baby, I'm going to look at the baby, and if they can't extend their tongue past their gum, their lower gum line.
Yeah.
What? You're frozen as far as I know.
You should be good now.
Okay, well, I can hear you.
Sorry. I can see myself on this. Like I see that I'm showing up on the live.
Perfect. All right, so a baby who can't extend their tongue past their gums.
Yeah.
The tongue is going to pull into a heart shape. Because that frenulum is attached. Now, a frenulum that is very prominent or attached to the tip of the tongue does not necessarily mean it's restricted. If the baby can move the tongue out and the baby can move the tongue up and the baby can move the tongue back, we're good. But that a visual is often the first sign, and then baby can latch, but they'll pop, and then just keep popping off, which is uncomfortable as well. And then, despite everything, mom continues to be sore. I mean, like really sore, like intolerably sore.
Yeah.
So
and
smacking.
The reason why for that, just so you folks watching understand, so if your baby has any oral restriction, why are your nipples sore? It's because baby's not able to get a deep enough latch. So what's happening is feel the roof of your mouth. In the front, it's hard. The palate is hard. As you go further back, put your tongue back there, it gets soft. So if baby can't get on deep enough, your nipple is getting all that friction against the hard palate, and they're not getting it to the back where that soft palate is. So
yeah. If the baby can't extend the tongue beyond the gums are hitting that nipple. So we need that tongue to cup the breast and pull it to the back of the mouth. And then the tongue undulates and helps milk the breast. And that stretch of the nipple is what triggers the hormone that makes the milk come out. So if we can't
sore
get
nipples, then popping off the breast, the clicking, if they hear clicking, that's
a red flag. If you've ever had where that soft palate feels itchy, and you can't scratch it with your finger, you'll gag yourself, but you try to scratch it with your tongue. So it's well, that's obviously the tongue is back there, not where
Yeah.
it needs to be. So yeah, clicking, popping off, sore nipples, lack of swallowing in the baby.
We had that issue. There was just milk, going
Yeah.
down Isla's face.
Yep.
Yep. The other interesting thing a lot of people don't know about is with pacifiers. If your child will only take the orthodontic shaped pacifier, that can actually be a red flag. Now, that alone doesn't mean your child has an oral tie, but it does mean it's something we do want to look at. So that is worth exploring if your child will only take an orthodontic pacifier.
Well, that's because it's sloped. The orthodontic pacifier is modeled after an incorrect latch, because if your nipple looks, baby comes off and that nipple is looking like that orthodontic pacifier, and I don't know why I can do that with my finger, but I can. That's a very shallow latch. So
Yeah.
if the baby is preferring that shape or can only take that shape, yeah, that's a red flag.
Okay. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi tonight. It's like not happy. And I hear my daughter crying as well. But which Justin's here, so we're all good there. So those are some really good knowing like what to look for, who to go to if you're questioning oral tie situation. And really, I do want to stress on people, build a relationship with a lactation consultant before you give birth. Don't just rely on the ones in the hospital. They are typically too busy, too many patients per lactation consultant. They're overworked and they don't have all the time and resources to actually work with you like you need. And after you've gone home, in my situation specifically, I called the lactation consultant from the hospital because I didn't know any better. I didn't find one ahead of time. And I know I needed to physically be seen. I knew that. And I was met with, well, just keep trying, just keep trying, just keep trying, because she was busy. So finding a lactation consultant separate from the hospital that either you can go physically to them or they physically go to you, I believe is super important. One that can show you how your breast pump works when you have those questions. Someone that has the time to actually go through all of that, I think is truly important and makes a difference in somebody's breastfeeding journey. It would have made a difference, I think, in mine. Because, I was stuck with, okay, my kid can't latch. I'm being, just keep trying, just keep trying, just keep trying. I've got a baby that won't stop crying. I was crying. And the other thing that is really, this brings me to like my next point that you do an excellent job speaking on, is when you are stressed, your baby is stressed. But when you are stressed, that affects your milk supply, because let's talk about what actually affects your milk supply and your letdowns.
Yes, when we're feeling stressed and we've got increased cortisol, we know our blood pressure can go up. Because your blood vessels tighten up. Well, milk is made from your blood. So we've got that. And then feeling that uptight or stressed also affects the release of the oxytocin. Oxytocin is the feel-good hormone, the love hormone, the bonding hormone, the hormone that makes your milk, well, it's technically the milk ejection reflex, or what we know as the letdown of milk.
Yep.
And that can inhibit that, which then makes the baby fussy, which then it's such a cycle where the baby's getting more frustrated, or they give up and play possum and knock out for a while, and now your baby hasn't eaten, and it just expounds upon itself.
Yeah. Yep. One of the best tips I heard was, when you are either pumping or trying to nurse, watch a funny movie. Put something funny on, because that's actually going to help you relax and help you with your letdowns and help the milk flowing. And I thought that was super fascinating and interesting.
It's the endorphins. that from laughing. You can also play soothing music. When I was pumping with my second child, I played the same track of music each time to get
Oh,
a Pavlovian response to. I mean, I never played it any other time.
that's really interesting. Yeah, I know. If you
Or I
play,
probably would have let
if you
down
hear it
just
playing in
yet.
Target, like that's not great.
Yeah.
Make sure it's something you're not going to hear out and about.
Out
That's
and
a really interesting. I like that one. That's pretty. I just picture that going so wrong if you pick the wrong song.
oops, wrong song. But yeah,
But
the endorphins will help you relax.
yeah, I think that's really interesting. Let's see. Oops, what did I do? Pavlovian genius, Chris says. It's super smart. The other tip. So let's talk about pumping. There's a really big misconception that let's talk about it. Right? It's like a
Oh,
triple feed.
let us please
Let's
talk
let's
about
do it.
it.
So
You-
because I just see so much of this online in ads, all of that. So you're supposed to get baby to latch. You're also supposed to pump, and you're also supposed to be able to have baby bottle feed. How does this actually look?
Well, what I see a lot of is moms choosing, I'm just going to pump. It's faster. I won't be tied to the baby. And that
It's
I
triple the
think
work. I can attest. It
it's
is triple the
truly
work.
it is triple the work to
I found it.
pump, feed, and keep your track of your equipment and keep your equipment clean.
Mhm,
So pumps are a nice adjunct to breastfeeding. But in the first few weeks, I would just concentrate on effective nursing.
mhm,
Enjoy your baby. You don't have to worry about anything else. Then, if you're going to be returning to work or school or want dad to be able to feed a bottle,
mhm.
you can um, nurse. And then when baby is asleep, you can go ahead and try pumping 10, 15 minutes. Don't look at it. It is not important how much you get. It's the because I've had moms just, oh, I thought I was making more than that, and
Yeah,
then getting all stressed out about it. So don't look at it.
don't watch.
Don't watch.
I had a mom that I recommended just cover them, like take like
Hmm.
a blanket
Hmm.
or something, just cover
Baby
them
blanket.
and just enjoy the
Yep.
funny
Just
movie, enjoy your TikTok scroll, like try to like have actually like a time for yourself. And
mm-hmm.
something that the partner can do is anytime you need to go pump, have your partner bring a snack and a drink. Snack and drink delivery. That is like the best possible thing you can do to support them. Sorry, I know I'm still showing up as frozen, guys. My Wi-Fi was not happy, and if I restart this, it's going to discontinue the live if I refresh. So sorry about that. But
Fine.
yeah, no, it. You don't need to be pumping every time your baby feeds. If you are
Oh,
trying to establish a supply, if you are trying to establish like a back supply, like a freezer supply, is what I'm talking about. If
oh
you're
yeah.
trying to establish bottle feeding, you only need to pump once, maybe twice a day.
Right. So a mom who's returning to work, I would tell her, after the third or fourth week, because babies go through a growth spurt at 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and they're going to be cluster feeding to build your
Mm.
milk supply. Hard time to pump with the babies asking to eat frequently. So after
I've been
that,
there.
right, and the first bottle, if everything is going well, the first bottle should be offered at the fourth week anyway. Um, I would say for a mom who was working that the first 3 daytime feeds. And why daytime? Because our milk follows what's known as a circadian rhythm, and we have more milk by volume in the morning hours, and we still have enough volume in the evening hours, but because the volume drops and the composition changes with higher fat content, it's enough for a baby, but it's more frustrating to try and pump. Hey, you're back.
Oh, good. It worked. Good. I
It
turned
did.
it off and turned it back on.
And so if we're just getting a supply established for return to work,
Yep.
then pumping after the daytime feeds and just 10 or 15 minutes at it. Don't worry about what you get. It takes about 48 hours from the start of an increase in stimulation to see an increase in volume, but you will see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, that brings me to a super good point. We just built, so for the folks watching, Dana and I just built a power pumping schedule freebie. So and then we haven't actually like launched. If that is something you want, feel free to shoot me a message on any of my accounts, and I will be sure to actually email that over to you. If not by tonight, then by tomorrow morning. Dana did a really good job of putting together a whole power pumping guide, including like timing of it and a few different options on how to do it. Because that was something that I didn't know back then, was there's a few different options on actually how to power pump, right, or when to power pump. So if you would like to shoot me a message, and I'll send it over DMs or email, whatever your preferred method is.
Yeah, power pumping to increase milk is something you do once or twice a day with regular pumping in between. So if you are separated from your baby, you want to start by pumping about every 2 hours, still only 15 minutes. Okay. It's not long times, it's oftentimes. And then you could get a 1 4-hour break at night. That's to establish if you're separated from your baby. And then moms who are struggling, and we told them, hey, let's power pump. Then we'd only do that once, maybe twice a day.
Now, let's see. I did a power pump. I want to say like 2 hours. I didn't realize I didn't quite need to, because I ended up as an oversupply, which is not great. Let's talk about why that actually isn't ideal. Because you think, oh, I want all this milk. Oh, Jen wants the perfect. Shoot me a message, either Chris or Jen, and I will make sure I send that over your way. The power pumping schedule.
All right, so oversupply, and you see this trend about, I want to be an oversupplier and I want this freezer full of milk.
Yeah.
When you force your breast to dry that is not matching your baby's needs or above and beyond your baby, setting yourself up for some misery on pain and getting mastitis.
I can attest to that. I
All right, turn on.
But yeah, no, I like night pump. Like when I tell you my middle of the night pump, guess how many ounces?
Your middle of the night pump was probably, if you were oversupplying and prolactin's highest at night, you were probably going to get 12 ounces.
20.
20. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Our breasts are not, y'all, everybody watching, our breasts are not meant to carry 20 ounces.
Yep.
Your baby. A newborn stomach is about the size of a ping pong ball, which is no more than half an ounce. And
yeah,
it's a great point that breast size does not equal. I mean, it's not a storage capacity thing; it's a frequency thing. Again, you'll make what your baby needs, and making more than that, just ow.
We weren't latching. I was exclusive. I was pumping every like 2 hours. I did that power, like I was just an oversupplier, and the clogs were incessant. trying to slow
The
down.
clogs, the
Yeah,
engorgement,
it was miserable. Like, it was not, I don't recommend it. Like, you do not want to be in oversupply. You're asking for more issues than not. And the other thing is if you actually develop mastitis. So you've got clogs and you've got mastitis. So clogs and mastitis are actually coming more so from an inflammation
it's
cause.
on the spectrum, all of it from a little what's called a bleb at the nipple tip, all the way up to infection. But mastitis, I mean, it's all inflammation, and mastitis does not have to be an infection, but you're working your way up to that, and then all the way up to an abscess. So,
and then when you start introducing those issues, you're adding stress. Now you're adding medications, you're adding all kinds of things to the mix that can actually end up hurting your supply
tanking it.
and hurting your breast.
Inflammation. Yep, inflammation when that breast tissue is swollen like that will compromise your supply, and it may not be recoverable. So we don't
Yeah,
want that.
not a fun time. We don't want oversupply, you guys. We want to keep inflammation down. We want to keep stress down. We want to be able to get what baby needs, and making sure that, if you are having to go back to work, around that 4-week mark is Dana's recommendation to introduce a bottle. And, you only need to pump once or twice a day to start getting that freezer stash going. That's it. That's all you need. And that is what helps with building your supply. There's another topic that, me of all people is going to speak on this, is the overuse of a pacifier, especially when your baby is in those early weeks of cluster feeding. Huge thing. Because when you've got a newborn baby, you're going to be like, what the heck? They just got off my boob like 10 minutes ago, and now they're rooting again, or they're crying again. And you're like, I just fed you. What happened, and this is what I'm seeing, all these moms are saying, I'm not making enough, I'm not making enough, I'm not making enough. No, actually what's happening, it's called cluster feeding. All the babies go through it, totally normal, and it's good for them because their digestive system is turning on. Their body is coming online, okay? So this is normal. Their stomach is growing, their body's coming online, they're learning how to digest. They're also growing very quickly as well, so they need fuel for that. With the cluster feeding also comes excellent practice and working those muscles they need to be efficient. The more practice they have latching to you, the more efficient and quicker they become at feeding and extracting milk from the breast. If your baby keeps crying, you're like, what the heck is going on? They just fed, I'm not making enough. It's not the case. They're cluster feeding. But the other great thing about it is that it does help establish your supply. So if you're just giving a pacifier instead, we can actually be hurting your supply and all that great practice latching and baby removing the milk and establishing your supply.
Yes. So babies will signal, do the rooting, hand to mouth, crying, looking when they're hungry, when they're thirsty, and when they want comfort. It's the exact same signal. They're so confusing. So you offer the breast. The baby wants it to nurse 15, 20 minutes or longer, probably hungry. If the baby only wants 5 minutes and they're done, probably thirsty. If the baby is fussy and pushing off the breast, maybe I have seen a baby need a burp and go to sleep. I have seen a baby need a diaper change and be happy and go to sleep. So it could be another thing. But when people are trying to put babies off with that pacifier, I mean, pacifier is great. And soothe beginnings pacifier is what I'd recommend. But yes, the overuse of a pacifier instead of offering the breast first can diminish your supply as well.
And I totally see how, with all the misinformation in these Facebook groups, which you and I both know, we get in trouble as the breastfeeding people that know what we're talking about. We get in trouble all the time in Facebook groups for like being like, oh no, I'm actually like certified in this. Here's the actual thing. We get in trouble.
Here's the evidence base.
Yeah. So it's, like, here's the real information. Instead, you're getting, oh, just eat Oreos and you'll be fine. Or just buy this and you'll be fine. Just buy this and you'll be fine. So which is why, we created the, I enlisted Dana who created a really great milk supply total course that goes through a lot of different things, how to's, troubleshooting. So Dana created a really cool course that is about what is normal, what are potential issues causing a lower milk supply, and what can I actually do about it. And you did a phenomenal job. I wish I had that course. And there's a lot of really good tips, tricks, and knowing what's normal, I think is really important. There's a difference between what is normal and what is common. Just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal or what you want.
Exactly.
And
If we all of us of just past our baby making ages or in our baby making ages, are growing up in a bottle feeding society.
yes,
Our medical doctors get zero formal breastfeeding training in medical school and in right afterwards. Now, if they're a pediatrician and possibly an obstetrician during their 3-year residency, they may get a total of 3 hours a year.
wow.
And then when they go into practice, the very dabbling they get in medical school, the infant nutrition talks about formula. And then when they come out, their continuing education on infant nutrition is given by formula companies. So there's a conflict of interest there. There's a lack of correct information there.
Yeah.
And so what is normal for a breastfed baby is going to be different than what is normal, especially in the frequency.
Yeah.
You know, a formula fed baby is going to eat a certain amount every 3 to 4 hours, and a breastfed baby, whenever they're hungry. But, you know, we eat when we're hungry.
Right. So here's another really important thing to talk about is when we say a baby needs to eat every 2 to 3 hours, we're actually saying that's pretty much the longest they should go. Other than like if they slept for 4 hours, like if they've already gotten to their pre-birth weight. So when you have a baby, they're born at 8 pounds. It is normal for them to lose up to 10% of their body weight. And now you kind of have to gain that weight back. Until they've gained that weight back, which can happen pretty quickly, you can wake them to feed them. Otherwise, you can let them sleep at night. Like if they do a 4-hour stint at night, you're fine. But outside of that 2 to 3 hour stretch is basically within that time frame they should be eating. So we're not saying we have to hold off baby 2 or 3 hours. We're saying we don't want to go over 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
That is a really big misconception that I didn't know. I was like, she just ate. Like, what do you mean she's looking for milk again? It's been 45 minutes. Like, this is normal. The breast milk is a lot easier for babies to digest, believe it or not. Sometimes, yes, we have to tweak our own diet, and eating less inflammatory foods for ourselves is better for baby's gut health, but also for us not getting clogs and mastitis. So keeping like the inflammation foods down is better. And the rule of thumb is essentially shop like the outside of the grocery store if you can. Eating more whole foods is like the best rule of thumb. But I get it. You're tired. You're busy. Like I beyond understand. Like we went through, I had a colic baby. I had postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. My husband went through it as well. We were in straight out survival mode, and everybody's scenario is going to look different. The best thing you can do is be armed with either the information or where to go to get the correct information. That's it. Like, as long as you have someone you can, like a lactation consultant or some of the pediatricians' offices have lactation consultants that work there. That's all they do. They're a lactation consultant in a pediatrician's office. I love that. I wish our pediatrician's office had that. I was mind blown the first time I heard about that. I was like, that is the coolest thing ever, because there is so much that goes into breastfeeding. It truly is an expertise. When you are an IBCLC, it is an expertise from tools of the trade to what's normal, what's within the normal windows with tips, tricks, scheduling, all of that. Like there is so much to it. So I do see how a pediatrician isn't going to be all up on it. I wish they had more education, but I totally applaud the pediatricians' offices that see that, know that, and hire out a lactation consultant where that truly is their specialty. And that's what they do, because it's so important to make sure we are feeding our babies the best way possible. For some babies, that will look like formula. For some babies, that will look like breastfeeding. And if we can give parents the best possible chance of successful breastfeeding by diminishing the misinformation, that's such a big deal. That, like, you know, I know people, I know like people on my Facebook or that know me can shoot me a message because they're like, hey, this is what's going on. Like, they think they're not making enough. And that's one of the biggest things too, is anytime I see in these Facebook groups, a lot of moms are like, I think I need to supplement with formula. What's the best one? Because I'm not making enough. It's actually very rare to not have enough glands to produce enough milk for a baby. It's so rare. However, it's our society norm and culture that we've totally lost breastfeeding in the US, totally lost it. That we don't have enough information to know that, you know, baby might latch every 15, 20 minutes. Like that is okay. But if you need a mental break, I understand that too. So there's so many different nuances to it. And our society right now isn't built for breastfeeding moms. Like they want you to go back to work after 6 weeks in a lot of cases. Some moms don't even get that. And the World Health Organization actually recommends breastfeeding until at least 2 years old. And beyond that, in the rest of the world, a lot of other places actually offer breast milk through age 4. And we're not talking like third world countries or anything like that. We're talking like this is like, they know the evidence, they know the science. Like it's really fascinating. And it's totally not the norm in the US. It's just
the average in other countries is between 3 and 5 years old.
Yeah, it's wild. Now, one thing I do want to mention is setting goals for yourself. If you are a new mom and I want to breastfeed through the first birthday, or I do want to breastfeed for those 2 years, let's talk about small goals first, because I don't want to add guilt or stress to I didn't make it to a year. I didn't make it to that goal. That just adds a whole lot of layer of mom shame and guilt.
Shame.
Shame for, let's focus on, especially in those early months, let's focus on today. Let's focus on this next feed and getting a good position and figuring out a good latch. Okay, now, baby's 3 weeks old. Let me try using my pump and figure out my pump. Hey, I made it a week. Celebrate those milestones, because breastfeeding, even if you offer your baby a little bit, is great for them. The benefits are accumulative. It's not an all or nothing thing. It's not. And I think that is also a really big misconception. I was able to, we did breast milk 8 weeks. Like we made it 8 weeks. I should have stopped sooner for health reasons for my daughter and myself, but she got breast milk for 8 weeks. There are some moms that get through 1 week. There are some that get through 2 weeks. Making sure you're surrounding yourself with the support you need, but also taking care of yourself is really big. And putting a goal up right out the gate of a year, I think is just added stress to the mix. I don't want you to feel like a failure right out the gate if you're struggling.
And even moms who are struggling or needed to give some formula didn't fail. If we, getting some help and doing some interventions can preserve it. So
there's all sorts of scenarios too. Like if you had a cesarean, ooh, that's a great thing. So I did not have a cesarean. So when you have, because there's 2 phases of lactation. Okay. When you're pregnant, for those of you that don't know, you're already producing the colostrum, which has incredible, all kinds of like goodness to it. That's, Yeah. Yeah.
Colostrum is milk, y'all. It's a fancy word for immature milk to match your baby's immature gut. Your baby has never had to digest anything before. Their gut biome isn't developed yet. And that initial skin to skin contact is what helps get them exposed and get their biome going. And your colostrum has prebiotics and probiotics to also help establish that biome. The colostrum is milk. It's not, water, or people say when my milk comes in, it's already here. The placenta tells it to get started. Go
Yep.
ahead. I just
Yeah,
had to
and that's it. What triggers that second phase of like what you think of your milk coming in is the placenta removal. So can you talk a little bit about if you have a cesarean, how that might affect milk?
So, like you just said, the technical term for it is lactogenesis stage 2, where milk volume suddenly increases. And when they manually take a placenta out with a cesarean, you're going to get that same trigger. In a few cases, it's delayed a day or two. So you could have where most moms are getting that increase within 72 hours, it could be 5 days for you. So a 2 day, 1 to 2 day delay on a few women, but not 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 frequently.
Not frequently. That's a really great thing to clarify. It's not super common, not super frequently. It can happen, but it'll come. Um, and the other thing too to note about cesareans is that they can have complications. I do know somebody very close to me that had one, and I want to say it was like 12 weeks before their incision finally healed. They had like complication and like, going on medication, all of that. And that was and plus their baby had an oral tie added to everything. Mom ended up the first week. So there are so many different scenarios that I don't want moms to
electively choose for social reasons. I want my baby on this date. I don't want to have to push. Yeah, cesarean is major surgery for mom and baby and should be reserved for major surgery reasons.
And there can be a lot of complications that come with that. And I don't want a mom that, had a cesarean and or had a complication or anything like that to feel the pressure of I didn't make it to a year. Focus on getting yourself healthy. That is first and foremost. Get mom healthy, because the best thing for your baby is a healthy, happy mom.
Yep.
100%.
Hands down. Hands down.
And that's actually the best thing for milk supply too, is being a happy, healthy mom.
For sure.
So we are going to be doing the power pumping. I know Jen wanted it. She messaged me. Anybody else that wants like that power pumping guide and schedule, reach out. Let me know. Any other questions folks have, definitely send them through. So I'm just keeping an eye on the chat just in case any of them come through. What is so we talked about like nipple shields, we've talked about. Yeah.
I got one.
What?
Pump flange sizes.
Ooh, this is so controversial.
And it shouldn't be controversial, because in 2023 and then again recently, I went on a deep dive to try and find the evidence that many sites are saying the evidence shows the evidence. Okay, but what's the evidence? And I have yet to see it. So in my experience, and I have helped thousands of women pump, I have seen nipples get peeled from a pump flange that was too small. And I have seen better output and better comfort from going larger and getting more of the breast tissue. So I have never in 25 years used less than a 24 millimeter, which is what they considered standard and stick in the
Yeah.
kit. And I
So for
see
folks watching, they come with the 20, typically they come with the 24 and
it's
then they come
sometimes
with the
a
28.
20, yeah, a 27 or 28. Yeah.
So those are typically the two that
I
come with the pump.
saw a 21 while working and thought, who does that fit? A baby doll? But y'all, they are now making, oh, I measured a 19. I'm using a 15. I'm like,
A 15?
yes.
That's
How
smart.
masochistic is that?
That's wild. So when I was, and to like kind of give, I don't want to use the word visual here, but an example, use the word example. So I was working with a pump, helping a new mom pump for the very first time a few weeks ago. And it really kind of is figuring out what settings on your pump work for you, which flange size works for you, you know, kind of a little bit of a testing out session. So we started on the 24. And we saw the output coming from each because it was a double electric. So we had each one plugged in and going. And I was like, all right, so we see this one's doing great. This one's being a little lazy here. I can see it. So we swapped out the flanges to the 28s and it made like instantaneously was like a huge difference. And like, cause like we had the 24s on and we're tweaking like the settings. So we're tweaking the
Yeah.
settings a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I see what's still going
Mhm.
on here. This one's still being a little lazy. So then we switched out to the other flange size and we were able to lower her settings and get more output with that larger. So
Two things that hit my ear with that. Well, one, I'm not surprised that the larger size works better. But when you have a double pump, it means do both breasts at the same time. It tricks your body into thinking you have twins. It increases the prolactin, doubles it, right? And then it shortens the time. Instead of 10 to 15 minutes on one breast and 10 to 15 minutes on the other breast, you're doing 10 to 15 minutes total. So shorten the time, doubles the prolactin, which is the goal
get it
there.
over with.
And then the oh, now I forgot the second thing that you said. Hold on.
We're talking about the settings. So the double electric,
Settings.
which by the way, if you are looking for hands-free pumping, the Spectra S1 and the Motif Luna are double electric pumps that you don't need to be plugged into a wall. Those wearable pumps are good for after your supply is established here or there. That is not your everyday pump because those are not as efficient, they're not as powerful, and they're not customizable with the fit.
And they're usually too shallow to minimize the profile for the extension of your nipple, which is what causes the hormone to get released and makes the milk come out. So,
Those
what was
wearable
the
pumps
other thing?
are to not be your only pump. Those effectively tank people's supply. That is like
Yep.
one of the biggest gimmicks I see is selling women on convenience and just do this while you're pumping. You know, the whole like your mom, you got to do it all. You got to do this and do this and do this all at the same time, multitask. And it's like,
We need
we're
to take time
tanking
for
people's
us,
supply.
but and my view is we need to be thinking about our baby and taking a rest period for ourselves
Yeah.
when we're pumping. So it to just throw those on there and set it and forget it is I
Yeah.
don't I don't think is helpful. No, I cannot remember the second thing that you said. Ugh.
So I switched her to the larger flanges. I switched to larger flanges and we were able to lower the settings and still get maximum output. Something else, are you familiar with the pumping pals?
Mm-mm.
So they are like soft silicone flanges instead of hard plastic. I want to get my hands on some of them. The other thing I like is that they don't jut out as much before they go down. So like when you're pumping, your pump flange goes out and then it goes down. These actually go down like right away, basically. So they're not going out as far. So they're a little bit more concealed and less like in your way. I do want to get my hands on some of them. There's a couple like IBCLCs I know that like them, but they're softer because they're silicone, which I thought was really interesting. When it comes to pumping, you don't actually have to buy like the special spray to lubricate the flange either. There's, what's that nipple cream, that all natural one that doesn't have the lanolin in it?
Oh, I don't know.
Earth Mama? It doesn't have the lanolin in it, which can be an allergen. So that is something to be aware of. I know lanolin is a very popular ingredient.
So if you have a wool allergy, you may have a lanolin allergy
Weird.
because lanolin comes from sheep's wool. It comes from sheepskin.
Weird.
So there twice while I was in the hospital, both times in December, we completely ran out of lanolin. I mean, we could not get it from Medela. And I said, "What, did the world run out of sheep?" And then I realized it was winter somewhere in the world, and therefore they might not be shearing.
That makes sense.
And I went,
Okay.
oh, yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, so just be aware of that with the lanolin. But I think it's the Earth Mama. But it's like a
Yeah,
natural.
but we also have to be wary of ones that contain vitamin E, because too much oral vitamin E can be detrimental to a baby.
That's a really good tip. I did not know that. That is really interesting. Yes, because you can use your like I know that one specifically, you can use that as your nipple cream, but also as a lube for the pump. What are some of your other like pump lubes like that you like?
Pump lubricants?
Yeah,
I didn't used to have moms wear any.
you didn't.
Because I went with the right flange size, it wasn't causing an issue.
Maybe my experience was because like I literally was an exclusive pump. I was always hooked up to it, and I was like, I did not want to get sore. I did not. But yeah, no, it's really interesting. Also, so a lot of folks order their breast pumps from, I don't know if I told you this. I don't think I sent it to you. Aeroflow. They are located in the area that was affected by Hurricane Helene. So their facility is fine, but a lot of their staff, they're obviously not making them come into work right now. They want them obviously being safe. So Aeroflow, if you ordered your breast pump with Aeroflow, they are shipping the pumps separate from the bags because they partnered with like a partner vendor to send you your pumps right now. So if you ordered from Aeroflow recently, you might have a little delay. Which what I love is that if you go on the Aeroflow site, you literally plug in your insurance, then you can actually see what insurance covers on a breast pump right then and there. And it's easy peasy. Love it.
You know, when the Affordable Health Care Act first came into play and was, getting pumps to moms, I thought this is fantastic. And now I see the problem is not getting pumps to moms, it's getting paid maternity leave. That's the problem. That's what we should be fighting for, not getting moms pumps. But
yeah,
we'll work on it.
that's a whole other fun.
That's a whole thing.
Which if you there are resources out there that if you are trying to explore going from a 2-income house to a 1-income household because one of you wants to stay home with baby, if those are things you're trying to explore, I have people that you can talk to about that and what that actually looks like and making sure you get the most out of your insurance benefits and your maternity leave. I've got a lot of resources, and I know Dana knows a lot about the hospital stay. I'm going to do like a last call for any questions as well.
That includes medications.
Oh yeah, let's talk about medications. So if you are prescribed medication and your doctor, your OB, your primary care, whoever the doctor is, they're going to say pump and dump. And that is not necessarily always the case. So the different molecule sizes of medication mean they typically don't get into your breast milk. for a lot of them. So it depends on the molecule size, which is like super fascinating to me. What Dana has is a book. There is also an app version, Hale's Guide, Dr. Hale's. It is a fabulous, fabulous resource that you can plug in any medication, and that is what will tell you if it is safe for breastfeeding. It will tell you if it can pass on to baby, if you need to pump and dump. There's a lot of medications that are totally fine.
And if it's during normal business hours, Central Time, they're out of Texas Tech, and they have a 1-800 number you can talk to somebody too.
Yep. But I understand doctors aren't lactation consultants. Like, this is not their area of expertise. It is easier for them. And I don't blame them to say, hey, pump and dump, really, just be cautious. But the Dr. Hale's Guide, this is the resource. Lactation consultants in hospitals across the country, like everywhere, this is what they use to refer if something is safe or not for breastfeeding. Like, this is the source, and it's fabulous.
They get volunteers for whatever medication they're studying. They test the mom's blood. They test the mom's milk. They test the baby's blood.
Amazing. Amazing. They've been around for a long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
At least 20 years.
Awesome. I don't see any other questions coming through. I know I've got a couple folks I need to send that power pumping guide to. So again, if you want that power pumping guide, reach out, let me know. I can send it to you. We'll probably be putting that up on our socials in like the next like week-ish. Things have been a little crazy, so I just need to make the page for it so you can grab that. I was trying to think what else. If you want more information on building a breastfeeding supply, there is a course on the Soothe Beginnings website done by the fabulous Miss Dana. It is called Every Last Drop, Addressing Low Milk Supply. She goes over what is normal, like what is actually normal for pumping and breastfeeding, and what your supply should look like and can look like. And then she goes over potential causes. And then also she goes over what you can do about it. So it's really cool. She's fabulous. I'm a huge fan, and I'm really, really glad to be working with you and yeah, having you on board. Chris says, thank you for sharing your expertise.
You are welcome, Chris.
But reach out with anything that you
have.
And I hope everybody has a good night. And any questions, again, feel free. If you're not, if you would rather private message that, I understand. Go ahead. But thank you, Dana, and I will probably talk to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.